616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barclay on Wood Radio.
Good morning, folks. It is a beautiful day on tap. It's gorgeous from my vantage point, high atop West Michigan, downtown Grand Rapids. The sun is shining, some clouds there, but looking good so far. Kind of feels like a fall day. At football being played, yeah, we got lots to discuss. Sort of a quiet weekend, but some things that I noticed in the midst of it, I thought maybe we ought to share. So, of course, we appreciate you being here with us this morning. You can join the program at any time at 616-774-2424.
News, weather, and traffic. And the biggest stories of the day. We're talking about what matters most in West Michigan and beyond. This is the Big Three. Now, today's Big Three.
Yep. It's the Big Three, all powered by our good friends at Heartland Home Mortgage. The stories you'll be talking about around the water cooler, the dinner table, no matter where you are. These are those stories. Call Dave Calloway and the crew today to find out how they can help save you thousands like they've done for us and many others who listen to this program, because you may be thinking, well, interest rates are high. I don't know if I want to buy. And, well, I understand, there are a lot of things happening behind the scenes that, can make us fearful. But that shouldn't keep you from taking action, because they may be able to help you in ways that you haven't even considered yet. 616-974-9105 or go online to hhmlending.com.
Number one.
4 people were injured after a crowd turned hostile in Grand Rapids on the Blue Bridge this weekend. You know what that is? It's this blue bridge that lights up. It's kind of a tourist attraction. Police heard gunshots in the area, found 4 adult victims suffering from non-life-threatening injuries after some sort of dust-up, an unruly crowd there gathering at 3 o'clock in the morning there Saturday evening. Of course, our prize set to kick off later this week, and we've talked about things like this happening in our city and whether or not folks feel safe to come down and enjoy some of the great things that we have to offer. Crime continues to be an issue in Whitmer's Michigan and Biden's America.
Number 2.
Michigan State President Samuel Stanley, needs to resign by Tuesday. He could be fired, according to sources with the Detroit Free Press. They're reporting Stanley's been given the deadline due to the way he handled Sanjay Gupta leaving his position. Now, this is not the same guy that worked for CNN. I had to look. Was Sanjay Gupta? What is Sanjay? This is probably a common name. Maybe it's like John Smith in those circles. But Sanjay stepping down, leaving his position as business school dean over Title IX issues. Lots in the weeds.
Number 3.
King Charles III officially becoming Britain's monarch Saturday after he took the oath as the new king in a ceremony steeped in tradition, CNN writes, and pageantry. The king paid tribute to his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who died at age 96 last week after the longest reign in British history. The state funeral for the Queen will take place on September 19th. Buckingham Palace announced likely to be a poignant moment, they say. Members of the royal family will walk behind their beloved matriarch in an extraordinary silent procession this week. In fact, some of that already happening right now. We're seeing pictures on cable TV of shots from the palace and all around as we continue to watch. But it was a scene that I saw this week, in fact, this weekend, that lit me up the most. I don't know about you, but it was eerily quiet this weekend in a lot of ways. Did you notice that? Eerily quiet. I had to take pause because we didn't really see, at least over the weekend, some of the crazy big news stories that we are accustomed to from time to time, at least in the last several months. This was a good pause, I think, in some ways. Yeah, a good pause. But I nevertheless had a great weekend. I enjoyed the time with folks who stopped out. I don't know if you got a chance to come out or not. I got to talk to several people who did, and just another wonderful event with the Freedom Cruise. The folks had finished the mission supporting veterans here in in West Michigan, and this event that they put on to honor Gold Star families. One Gold Star family honored the newest this week was the honor the family of the Blodgetts, who I got to tell you, the story is pretty incredible. I haven't we haven't talked a lot about this particular um, event because there's been so much happening and so much going on. Um, but each family and each story separately just absolutely rips your heart out. This particular year was no different. These young men who sign up, I thought about it on yesterday, Sunday, just like the firefighters we lost, just like the police, just like the people who run towards the danger in times like this. They kind of sign up knowing that there's a chance, there's a chance that they may not come. It's unthinkable, I think, for a lot of us, particularly the parents that have to deal with what they deal with in the wake of it. But it's important for us to come together. And one of the things I'll note this year when they honored Nicholas Blodgett was that although, his entire a big group of folks, family and then families of other past Gold Star recipients who were there honored, but not only that, but others throughout the community. There's something bigger happening. There's something bigger, and to put my finger on it, I think I can only really do it justice by telling you that it's really a blast from the past. In fact, I think it's a window into the truth about where we are now. Now, here's what I mean by that. And I know I'm kind of, look, I talk for a living, but I kind of stumble over my words sometimes when I'm thinking about these things because they are so important. They are so powerful. But the moment that I think that we witnessed this weekend, the folks that were there, the ones who went on the honor ride, that cruise, freedom cruise that takes place throughout northern Kent County, Comstock Park, and Sparta, and through those areas, Plainfield, and some of the different townships that go through. Neighbors come out and they line the roads. They wave flags. The kids come out and they sit and they watch the procession go by. It's led by these families who are being honored. Motorcycles rip and roar through the streets. Classic cars. Our wood radio vehicle was there too. What I witnessed was people from all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, religions. What I witnessed was people coming together under one single cause. Folks, it's something that we haven't seen in quite a long time. At least we know that it's there. At least we don't get the glimpses like we used to. And I'll tell you the reason why. I think it's unpopular. Now more than ever, when you watch TV or you consume any of the media, anything that's on social media, you're constantly bombarded with division, even from the divider in chief, the resident on down. Rhetoric that's meant to rip us apart at the seams in a lot of ways. But that's not what I witnessed yesterday. In fact, that's not the story of today. September 11th, 21 years ago. This nation changed forever in so many different ways. We get that. But one of the things I think we don't pay enough attention to is what happened the very next day. Immediately after, really. But September 12th, I think, was the day that really highlights it the most. And boy, we forget that quite a bit, don't we? We move past it. And we ought not to. We got another glimpse of it this weekend. In New York, as the Jets faced off against the Ravens. I didn't see anyone kneeling on the field for this ceremony. The police band there and the woman singing, her microphone cuts out at one point. And what happens next during this version of the national anthem is priceless. It was amazing to watch as the crowd finished and then the mic came back in. But that moment, I think that is so important. And we won't soon forget it. It's just another example of people, real life Americans, standing together in unity. I think it's an important reminder for all of us. As much as we are being pulled apart, there is a reason for that. Why do they always want us so divided? Why do they always want to rip us apart? It's called divide and conquer, and it is a strategy as old as time. So I'm reminded again on September 12th that united we stand and divided we fall. So I hope you stand with me, folks. Lots of ground to cover today. We got an after show that'll be jam-packed coming up this morning, too. You can join the program at any time, 616-774-2424. I want to welcome on a new sponsor, the folks at Mentality. Look, you know, it's kind of funny, but you don't hear much about these particular items or issues these days. You know what you hear more about? You hear about masculinity and whether it's toxic or not. But the truth is testosterone and your levels are a serious subject. The folks at Mentality are a new sponsor. We welcome them in. They're helping guys get their edge back. And this is serious business. You may have low energy, motivation. You maybe have experienced weight gain or muscle loss, fatigue, tired all the time, feeling anxious and moody, maybe irritability. All of those things, anxiety, depression, boy, they can really cause you to not be able to be the man that you were designed to be, the man you created to be. but you could get your life back. Mentality is a local healthcare facility specifically dedicated to helping men feel and perform at their very best. When you feel like you don't have the energy or drive to keep up with your kids after work, or you just maybe feel like you did 5 or 10 years ago, you could feel a lot better. You could be present with your family. You could be the father, the husband, the friend you can be. Go to lowtusa.com. That's lowtusa.com to find out how you can get the help in just a matter of moments that you deserve. They're FDA-approved testosterone treatment, board-certified physicians who work with most insurance. You ought to get your levels checked, at least get looked at. Go to lowtusa.com for the folks at Mentality. That's lowtusa.com. Go to lowtusa.com today and take your life back.
Informative, engaging. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barclay on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
During this interruption, let's talk about disruption. Emerging new channels, cookieless media. Marketers, are you missing out on one of the...
All right, folks, good morning to you. I want to say good morning to a few people weighing in here. Steve, Debbie, Bruce, Bonnie, Ann, Sherry's. Because I got two back-to-back. Sherry McClish and Sherry Powell. We got the Sherrys in here. Michelle, Cindy, Laura, Marge, Beverly, Paul. Appreciate y'all joining us. Please click share today so we can get the word out about what's happening. Oh, good morning to the Rumblers. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Aaron Sharp, Mary Kay, Nancy, good to see you. Mr. C, Charmaine, Jackie Ray. Such a time as this. Blue Angel, Gritter Dunn. Good to see you over the weekend, by the way. We had a great time this weekend, folks. We do it again next year. Make sure that you put it on your calendar. It's usually the weekend. It'll be the Saturday of September 11th. Mr. Deplorable on Getter. Good to see you from Dot, Michigan. Jim, Doug, Tanya. Tanya says, yeah, this weekend, what? See, I wasn't the only one. She said it was so quiet, it was unsettling. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, it just felt a little weird, didn't it? That's just me. I don't know. It just felt a little weird, but apparently I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who believes it. It's a little strange. A little strange there, isn't it? Yeah, maybe it's because of the Queen and the pomp and circumstance and all of that, all of that stuff that they've got going on. Maybe that is soaking up some of the oxygen. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Yeah, don't eat food with soy. It isn't good for me. You're right. That's another situation. I think a lot of people don't realize how bad some of the things in our food really are. But you know what's good news? People are waking up more and more. People like you and lots of people waking up. All right, folks, just a minute, jumping back into it. Patty, I see you talking about Tudor and how she's disappeared. If you'd like to see her, she'll be tomorrow at Stand Up Kent County. If you're in Kent County, you can go see her. She hasn't disappeared. You just haven't seen her, and I wonder why that is. Doesn't have anything to do with her. It has a lot to do with the media. Stand by. All right, welcome back in. Speaking of the division, it didn't take them long. One Democrat lawmaker over the weekend with a stunning September 11th decree, so to speak. But I just can't believe that he wasn't just outright completely made fun of and cast off. No, but this is how Democrats act. The resident himself, this is how folks on the left are running now, comparing September 11th to January 6th. and calling people Trump supporters, Trumpies, Biden's new term, calling those folks insurgents, insurrectionists, and comparing them to terrorists. It's almost unthinkable if you didn't understand how these things work these days. It's kind of par for the course, but we'll play you some of that audio from one of the Sunday shows. We'll get to that. Plus, Michigan's Mayor Pete. Now, he wasn't a mayor here in Michigan, but, South Bend, Indiana mayor, now Secretary of Transportation. And new Michigan resident Mayor Pete is out there talking about how he's so excited for California banning gas-powered vehicles over the weekend, as they had another warning that they could have blackouts and things of that nature, and that people shouldn't go out and charge their Teslas at certain times. Mayor Pete excited for that. We'll tell you why he's so giddy. All on the way. All right, everybody. Laura makes a good point. For everyone wanting more from their candidates, they need your support. Let's see. Door knocking, donations, and campaign phone calling is coming down to us. Very true. Pam, I will promote the Michigan Says No concert this Saturday in Grand Rapids. In fact, I'll be there. Great band will be performing. Ryan Kelly will be there. There's a whole list of folks, and stay tuned because we'll have some of those folks on to talk about it. But put that on your calendar, folks. I've already posted on my Facebook page about it. But if you haven't put it on your calendar yet, make sure that you get it up there. MichiganSaysNo.com, and they're having a concert this Saturday to promote the opposition to these two just despicable, horrible proposals that will be on the ballot. We got that word on Friday. They're both Thursday? They're both going to be on the ballot. And here's the flyer for the big fundraiser Ryan posted over the weekend. So you've got access to that. Great band will be playing called Arrows Rising with Soul Convicted. Looks like so it'll be a kind of a concert event. Plus, you'll be hearing from speakers like Ryan Kelly, who will be there, looking to help raise money to go out and reach and, of course, get the message out about how these radical extremist bills will just absolutely dramatically change the landscape here in Michigan and our country altogether. Joe Moss, Ottawa Impact, will be there as well. Ryan Kelly, who has started this group to go out and fight these proposals. Michigan Says No. We're coming together to make sure that we take a stand against these, and gonna need your help. GR Church this weekend, MichiganSaysNo.com. I've got this posted up over on my Facebook page, so if you want to check that out, it is Saturday at 6:30. Saturday at 6:30. So make sure you make a note of that. Hang on one second. Patty, that's great, Justin, but she needs to put out ads disputing what Whitmer is saying. I think that's part of the plan, but you have to realize, and I get it. Look, I totally understand where you're coming from. But there are two things that are happening. Number one, all those negative ads, and I understand why you're upset about them, but all those negative ads are telling Michigan voters who Tudor Dixon is. Nobody knows who Tudor Dixon is. Nobody knows who Ryan Kelly, even if you like Ryan, even if you like Garrett. I'm talking about the vast majority of Michigan voters. They don't know. They don't know who the candidates were because they don't pay attention to that stuff. Most people don't. I've talked about this at length before, but most people don't. It doesn't matter what your perception is. It doesn't matter what you think. I had this candidate. I love this candidate. This candidate's great. That's all fine and good, but you saw, how that worked out, and unfortunately, most people just don't pay attention into the very last minute. Rush used to call these people low information voters, and it's true. These are the low information voters. These are people that don't stay plugged into talk radio like you and I do, and people that don't maybe listen to podcasts or watch online like this. That's why it's so important to share these the live streams that we do. Hang on one second. Hey, Joe. Okay. So, people are, what people are focused on right now? They're focused on football. They're focused on back to school. Now, a lot of people are watching this thing with the Queen. King leads procession behind Queen's coffin. That's what's on Fox News right now. Look, I don't want to offend anyone. I mean, people get really touchy about this royal stuff, but I haven't cared about the royals since about 1776. I don't know. Have you? To me, it's just another, I don't know. It's another thing. We got serious issues. But to me, maybe it's playing the role of another distraction that keeps us sort of pacified as we watch some of the craziness and the chaos in the background. A little too quiet, a little too weird this weekend. Hang on, we're getting back into it, folks. Stand by. I got to go back on the air. You could join the program at any time. Sound off 616-774-2424. Great way to do that. But also on the iHeartRadio app, if you haven't done this yet, just click that microphone button next to the play button and hit that talk back feature. You can rant, rave, sound off, ask questions, whatever you'd like to do. We get those messages, and then we can play them back for you on the air. It's all courtesy of the folks of MKD Funeral Homes, who actually hosted this weekend the Gold Star families at their Post Drive location in Belmont there. Lots of those guys always doing great things in the community and always happy to be a part of some of the things that are taking place, and particularly when it comes to all the patriotic events. Big hats off to them as well. Speaking of this weekend, this is Virginia Democrat Mark Warner, who was the head up the Senate Intel Committee. So this is no AOC. This is no, just weird, wacky Ilhan Omar kind of. No, this is now what he's going to say is going to be very radical. It's going to be very extreme. It's going to be wacky, but this is where they're headed. Making the comparison over the weekend on CBS's Deface the Nation that those were at the Trump rally January 6th, rather. They're like the terrorists who took down the towers.
And our country came together. In many ways, we defeated the terrorists because of the resilience of the American public, because of our intelligence community. And we are safer, better prepared. The stunning thing to me is here we are 20 years later, and the attack on the symbol of our democracy was not coming from terrorists, but it came from literally insurgents attacking the Capitol on January 6th. So I believe we are stronger. I believe our intelligence community has performed remarkably. I think the threat of terror has diminished. I think we still have new challenges in terms of nation state challenges, Russia, and longer term, a technology competition with China. But I do worry about some of the activity in this country where the election deniers, the insurgency that took place on January 6th, that is something I hope we could see that same kind of unity of spirit. In our
election deniers. Now, listen, there is not a single person. This is a dumb tactic, but they use this type. Climate deniers. I don't deny that there was an election. Does anyone deny that there are election? To say something is ridiculous and just absolutely void of reality is It's just crazy. Nobody denies there was an election. But we are constantly denied any of the real address of the grievances, the issues that people have with the election. You don't have to look further than a very simple, and yes, this is a mainstream issue I'm about to bring up again. It was reported widely. A judge ruled that Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson broke the law when she told clerks they didn't have to scrutinize those absentee ballot signatures that came in. Do you realize that all of the changes that were made that year were made in these Democrat states by Democrat governors and folks like Jocelyn Benson? They were folks like the Attorney General here, Dana Nessel, turned their head and said, yeah, it's a special year. They made their own rules and their own laws for that particular election. The legislature didn't pass anything. And a judge ruled that they did it the wrong way. They should never have done that. Matter of fact, we've got now on the ballot they say, whenever they talk about it, we secure voting rights and access to voting rights and access to abortions and voting and your abortion right. These things they just make up when they describe these things. There's no such thing as abortion rights. The Supreme Court has already ruled on this. There's no such thing. That's why these proposals are going to be so important. In fact, coming up this weekend on Saturday, if you'd like to be there, GR Church, Saturday night, 6:30. Ryan Kelly's group, Michigan Says No, MichiganSaysNo.com, holding an event. And again, I'll be there, but the big draw is a concert, Arrows Rising with Soul Convicted. They'll be performing live, 6:30. You'll be able to come out. They definitely need to raise some money. Joe Moss from Ottawa Impact will be there. Ryan Kelly will be there, taking a stand so they can help fight these proposals. But look, we know that and this is the truth. What I'm telling you is a fact. You can get all of the garbage that you want from people in the so-called media, the mainstream and local, all these folks. It doesn't matter who you look to. They're going to tell you, oh, these Mike Lindell and all these election deniers. They're going to bring out all the people they want to. But the truth is, we know, and they've reported on it. They've reported on it. We know there were issues with this election. We still don't. What about all that money from Mark Zuckerberg? The Zuckerbucks. We still don't have answers on that, do we? They did things that should never have been done. And now they're trying to make those things permanent. And this idea of calling folks election deniers is just another tactic. This divisive nature of these September 11th, these comments by Mark Warner, senator from Virginia, it's nothing new. The resident did this the other day, calling these folks who disagree with him politically enemies of the state, enemies of democracy. Folks, see, the real threat isn't to democracy. The threat is that you would have your own ideas. The threat is that you would think for yourself. The threat is that you might put that thinking cap on. Some might call it a tinfoil hat. But you might put that critical thinking cap on every now and then and ask a question or two that goes against whatever they're trying to push and force feed us on a daily basis. I think that's reasonable, that people ought to have questions. And here's what I think ought to happen when people have questions. We ought to get answers. Why can't you ask questions and why aren't they answers? To me, if you aren't going to answer questions, you got something to hide, then it tells us our suspicions are warranted. They do want to do is point the finger. There is no reasonable American. I played for you at the top of the show. All those Americans at a football stadium there in East Rutherford, New Jersey, there to watch the New York Jets take on the Baltimore Ravens. I played for you what happened when a microphone went out and those people sang together. The rest of the national anthem, an entire football stadium. This stuff happens all the time. I saw it for myself up close and personal when those cars raced through the roads of Northern Kent County for the Freedom Cruise this weekend. That's where real Americans are. We're united. We're standing together. Most of the time, you see whacked out small percentages, vocal minorities who scream at each other and, of course, yell into the abyss, into the echo chamber that is Twitter. They're not real people. They're bots. Now, they may actually be real people. But average people don't think that way. They don't speak that way. They just want to be able to go to work. They want to take their kids to school and soccer practice, be able to put food on the table without having to break the bank. They got to pay an arm and a leg for everything these days. The Democrats are in trouble. They always take things so far, too far. And in fact, again, it's going to bite them. It's going to bite them. Well, I say don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Am I right? On your way out. Mayor Pete over the weekend talking about, it's great, these policies in California, the fact that they're going to have blackouts, they've got energy crisis there. Gavin with the good hair. Gruesome Newsom out in California telling people they got to all buy Teslas by 2035, and they can't even afford and keep the power on out there now. Mayor Pete, who's just moved to Michigan, thinks this is a great idea.
Here in California, recently announced that by 2035, all vehicles that are new, that are sold, have to be electric vehicles or can't be gas-powered vehicles. What do you think about that? And is that something that could be a national model?
Well, it's interesting to see how the states are trying to go above and beyond what we're doing at the federal level. And I'm really interested to follow these developments while we continue to set a national policy that's the baseline for all of this. We need to move in the direction of electric vehicles. And look, industry's already there. At least one major automaker says they're not even planning to make gas cars past 2035. But we've got to make sure that this happens quickly enough to help us beat climate change. We've got to make sure it happens affordably enough that it's not just wealthy people, but low-income people who are the ones who most need those gas savings if they can afford the EVs in the first place.
Here in California.
Climate change? They've been talking about climate change since the 70s. The coming global ice age, all those Time magazine covers. You remember all those crazy stories? All of these things back and forth. And now we've got to plug into the electric vehicle. They can't even keep. I got a message this weekend. I'll try and see if I could pull it up, but I think I think I remember who sent me this message this weekend that the grid here in Michigan, in fact, almost came down a couple of times. We almost lost it a couple of times this summer. Listen to this. The electric grid will fail at some point. This is from a lineman that a friend of mine knows firsthand. The electric grid will fail at some point, and it will be big. Common serious brownouts in 5 years during summer and the hottest times in Michigan. And sooner, with all this electric stuff being pushed, propane and natural gas prices rising will push people to buy and use electric heat and strain the grid during winter. He said they almost lost Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio a few times this summer due to strain on the system. Now, remember, they told us that this might happen. MISO told us that this might happen. And so far, thank God, we didn't see it. But we didn't have really hot. Do you remember some of the 100-degree plus days that we've had in the past? We haven't had any of those really hot days this summer. That may have been what saved us. Slyman goes on this year. I'm not sure. The guy's been working for 27 years. They got sent home early due to lack of parts. He says probably the biggest problem for the grid strength. No, lack of workers, competent workers is even bigger, actually. Have comments that would have common sense enough and mechanical skills to do the job, do it well and efficiently. He also said whoever they is, want electric bills to go up to $500 a month. And I don't doubt that they will. I don't doubt that they will, folks. By the time everybody starts plugging their Tesla in, yeah, cha-ching, you're going to be paying through the nose. They say it's cheaper now. They want you to go out and buy a $60,000, $70,000 vehicle so that you can plug in. They say it's cheaper now, but no. You're going to pay through the nose when they start getting this stuff where they really want it, because they really don't have the power and the infrastructure. They don't have the supply to back up the demand, or where the demand will be at some point. It's true. You can't make this stuff up. And then if you want to, eventually we'll just socialize all of it. Or if you want your power bill to be lower, you'll turn your heat off in the middle of winter, or you turn your air off in the middle of the summer. That's how it's going to work. That's how it's all designed to work. Mayor Pete out there. By the way, in the middle of this, real Americans are suffering more now than ever. 56% say rising prices under Biden causing hardship. It's really taking a toll. Plus, we've got some footage of Trump at ground zero that is going to knock the socks off of you. And if you are one of these blue and on leftist Democrat, Trumpies, anti-MAGA crowd folks, you might want to take an antacid or two, because this audio, it might give you a little indigestion. Hang on. We'll get to it after this. Back next, it's West Michigan Live, News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM. All right. All right, folks. Let me catch up with the comments here. How many climate problems are being caused by clear cutting for their green energy and the heat generated by solar fields? Ooh. That is true. Those solar fields are going to generate some heat, aren't they? That's another, because they're basically mirrors. They're basically mirrors, right? They're just sitting out so there's going to be quite a bit of heat that goes up into the atmosphere. Ladina says, my whole house on a year-round budget is $90 to $115 per month, depending on the year. Just two people with little TV time, gas dryer, and gas water. That's good. That's good. Hope it stays low for you. That is that's a really good price. I think we're paying $200-$300 a month summertime. I've seen that just steadily increase. Now, wintertime, our electric is low and the gas is high. So it's a little different. Shelly, oh my God, electric car in Michigan. These politicians are so out of touch with the average person. I've never in my life bought a brand new vehicle. Highly doubt I could ever afford to. Well, see, that's the thing is you can't afford them, then you're just going to have to take the bus or whatever it is, or stay home. and eat bugs. Stay home and eat bugs. That's exactly what they want us all to do. Stay home and eat bugs. Anyway, that's where all of this is headed. All right. Hang on. I got to get back on the air. Not a lot of time to cover all the ground that we want to cover. That's why we got the after show coming up today. You can join us. We podcast it every day in the iHeartRadio app. Anywhere you get your podcast, just look for West Michigan Live with Justin Barclay. You can join us live behind the scenes live stream. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Getter, and YouTube even. Yes, we've got it all streaming right now. Don, you're up next. Appreciate you joining us on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Don?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good. Well, I was listening to you talk about the electric vehicle debacle. One thing that the politicians have in store for everyone with electric vehicles is at some point they're going to put a separate meter on, and you're going to pay road tax for that electricity. Right now, they have an enormous road tax on gasoline and diesel. They're not going to go without that money.
Yeah, they're going to have to. I mean, in order to keep the we're going to pay for it one way or the other. And if, like you said, if you're not buying gas at the pump, where are they going to make up for that money? And they're going to have to do something along those lines. It's a good point.
Well, they definitely will do that. And, you know, the politicians are sneaky enough. They're not going to talk about it until it's too late.
Yeah, you'll get the Tesla home. You'll start driving that thing around. Then all of a sudden they'll sneak that in on you. Thank you, Don. I appreciate the call. This is basic common sense. This is basic economics. I mean, you can't take that money away and not have a place to, you know, a way to replace it. You have to. 56% of Americans say that the rising price, the cost of everything, gas to groceries, you name it, everything that's gone through the roof, 56% say it's making things tougher, creating a real hardship, a toll it's taking, this tax on Americans.
This wholesale grocery warehouse in San Antonio, Texas, is getting more customers who buy in bulk and split with neighbors.
You can only absorb the costs so much.
That's a good idea.
We're seeing higher costs across the board.
Overall inflation, currently at 8.5%, taking a toll on a growing share of Americans. A new Gallup survey finds 56% of Americans say rising prices are causing hardship, compared to 49% who said that in January. This wholesale grocery...
You know, buying in bulk and sharing among your neighbors, great idea. Splitting that cost together. And maybe you're in an area where you could do some of that. I don't know. What's even better is to have like a garden. If you had a garden in your neighborhood, then eventually they'll tell you, no, you can't do that. You can't have your own garden. I mean, that's climate change. You're contributing to climate change. We can't allow that. It's one of those conspiracy theories. Well, you see, I mean, all of the things that they're doing right now are just none of it makes any sense, does it? None of it seems to be like there's any adult in charge anywhere. Anyone with half a brain that's working behind the scenes. Well, that's just because we look at things through a completely different lens. You and I, we look at things together through the lens of, common sense. How do you want the average American to prosper? That's not their goal here. Their goal is something completely different. It's nefarious. More on that in the after show. We only have enough time to get to some of these things. That's why we kick off the after show coming up after the program. You can join us. Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Getter, Facebook, YouTube, all of it, you name it. And the podcast, the iHeartRadio app, justinbarclay.com as well, folks. Back tomorrow morning at 9:06. Make it a great day. God bless. All right. Let me click a few buttons here and get this show on the road. Tammy said our grocery was well stocked yesterday. I was surprised. I did some shopping yesterday and I didn't see a very well stocked. Now it's also Sunday, so maybe there's a lot of people doing the shopping, and some of this is supply chain keeping up, etc. But I can't tell you the last time I went in and everything was stocked up and filled. It's been a while. The fastest hour in radio, and it just flew by, Patty. Thank you for being here, folks. Here we go with the after show. Stand by. Welcome to the after show. It's the show after the show. Yes, never a dull moment, never enough time to get to everything that we want to cover on a daily basis. That's why we started the after show. Yes, so much to get to, even on a quiet weekend like this weekend. This seems to be some things happening behind us. The Queen getting much of the attention today. I'm even watching the live. Fox News has gone wall to wall with it. They've got it on NBC too, as if somehow we lost that war in 1776. And it's just a wild. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I know some of you royal enthusiasts. In fact, I had complaints from somebody over the weekend about it. I can't believe our body's not even cold yet. You just got to talk about it. It's so disrespectful. I said, no disrespect at all. But, when are we not allowed? We're not allowed to laugh anymore. We're not allowed to talk about things. We're not allowed to say the obvious, which is this doesn't affect my life. It barely affects their lives over in England. I don't know. There's a lot of back and forth on the Queen and the monarchy and the royals and what they did and didn't do and what they're allowed to do and all this stuff. And sure, maybe you can have conversations about that, but did this really impact your? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off here, but this really impact your life? No, I don't think so. Well, I'll tell you what it does do. It provides a much needed distraction from some of the chaos, some of the real problems as the managed decline or the intentional destruction of the country continues. And it's not just the country. It's the Western way of life. Make no mistake. It's all of it. And her death coincides with it all, isn't it? Isn't it interesting? Yeah, Tammy says, I wish they'd put this much coverage onto election fraud. And the questions of elections, yeah, that might as well never have even occurred. So there you have it. Talking about what matters most today, and very little of it will be, if any, the Queen. I can't guarantee that it won't pop up, but I don't have anything planned. Let's thank our sponsors today. One of them, of course, the folks at patriotswitch.com. We're just talking about what you could find and what you couldn't find in the grocery and how things are headed the way they are. Of course, if you're still shopping at the big box store, folks, if you're still supporting some of these major woke brands who are engaging in, of course, the attacks on us daily in our way of life, it's time to make the switch. We vote with our dollars every day, whether we like it or not, whether we realize it or not. We vote with our dollars. Now's the time to make sure that we're voting for America first, for our families, for the values that we actually believe in. Over 2 million monthly shoppers have made the switch already. Patriotswitch.com. Yes, folks, patriotswitch.com. When you go in, you'll put in your name, your cell phone number, and, of course, your email. One of us will contact you. It may even be me, but it'll be a Patriot will get in touch. You'll put in, how did you hear about us? Justin Barclay. Make sure you select my name from the growing list of Patriots who have made the switch. Family-owned, manufactured, prices that are sometimes even better, far beyond some of the other big box stores and those woke conglomerates. Support American families and jobs. There's no mainstream media advertising that. That means they don't support the fake news. They don't support some of these organizations like Disney that are trying to brainwash your kids and pump that sewage into our homes. Patriotswitch.com. Thank you to the folks at Patriotswitch.com. And thanks to the folks who have made the switch, who listen to this program. You are making a dent because not only you're supporting them, but you help support us in the process. I can't tell you enough. When you support a sponsor on this program, when you support, maybe you buy, something out of the store, my book or a T-shirt or whatever it might be, what that does to help continue to fuel this endeavor. Not just for a chance for us to get to hang out and be here with each other. That's all part of it. But yes, also, too, what I mean is you fuel getting the stories out. You fuel getting the word out about these things. And boy, that is important in this fight. We're a small piece of it, but folks, we are a mighty piece, and you are all a part of that. Well, they were losing their minds over the weekend. I don't know if you saw this or not, but blew it on. The folks on the left losing their minds this weekend over on Twitter and the rest of these other places. Donald Trump, anything popped up about Donald Trump, it was like the end of the world. In fact, did you see Jack Posobiec? This crossed my, I think it was on Instagram. Jack Posobiec. Let's see if we can find it here. He had shared a picture of Trump at ground. There it is, ground zero. He'd shared his picture and then they fact-checked it. So I think that's why I made it into a video. Let's see if I can find the original that he shared. There it is. Yeah, this is how it popped up for, if you're watching the behind-the-scenes live stream, you'll see this. But this is how it popped up for me. I said, what in the world is happening here? This is how it popped up over on Instagram. They missing contacts. The same information reviewed by independent fact checkers, yada, 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 yada. And all it is a picture of Trump at ground zero. There was nothing else, no other story or anything else. But here's what else they put. Hang on, let's see if I can find this other piece of it. Yeah. Then they've got these fact checker stories, Snopes, and lead stories out that was Donald Trump at ground zero searching for survivors 2 days ago. He never said anything of the sort. They want you to believe that this picture wasn't even real. It's wacko. Anybody these days who believes anything fact checkers say, you've got to be completely disconnected from reality. Anytime I see anything that's fact checked, I'll just automatically assume that has checked the fact and told me that it's real. That's what I just assume now. Here is a scene, in fact, from September 11th. Attack on America. This is shortly after that occurred. He was interviewed, Donald Trump, on NBC News.
That tape, you can see what he had to say.
Left doesn't want you to see this.
Well, I've never seen anything like it. I've seen two huge 110-story buildings that are reduced to rubble, thousands and thousands of lives. I just got to see something that I've never seen before. I have hundreds of men inside working right now, and we're bringing down another 125 in a little while, and they've never done work like this before. And they're hardworking people, but they've never seen anything like it, and they've never They've never done work like this before. It's terrible.
Tell me what it's like at Ground Zero. Tell me about the workers that you saw and what they're doing there.
Well, not only is it devastation, but it's very dangerous because every few minutes a whistle would go off and everybody would just run because you have all the buildings around it, which are in such a weakened state that people just don't know. And so they just have to take off. And then they come back and they're working under 50-story buildings that you don't know if they're going to fall down. So it's a terrible thing for the workers, and it's a terrible thing for the world, really.
How have you spoken to any of your men? Do you know how they're reacting to this? Because emotionally, this must be so incredibly difficult.
Well, there are a lot of them, but they've never seen bodies like this. I mean, the bodies all over. The great thing is when they find somebody that's alive, like the 5 firemen that they just found a little while ago. So that's the great thing, and that's what they're all striving for. But generally speaking, that's not the case. So they are working very, very hard, but it's a very depressing situation for these folks.
As you walked around and as you saw the piles of rubble, there are thousands of families out there who are hoping that someone might be in a pocket somewhere, still alive, still breathing, waiting to be dug up. As you assessed that damage from your perspective, do you believe that's possible?
Well, I would certainly not want to be the one to say it's not possible. Certainly it's a tough situation, but you can't give up hope because there's always hope. I mean, the 5 men, I'm sure their families thought that they probably were gone, and now they walk in the door. A couple of them walked away.
It's incredible footage from 21 years ago. And they, look, they don't want you to know that he was there. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want you to see that. Here's some other footage that kind of popped up this weekend. I'm not really sure why. You get your tinfoil hat out about this one, but this is footage that Jack had posted earlier this weekend, too, of Trump apparently arriving in Washington, D.C. over the weekend for something. I'm not sure what he's doing there. I'm not sure why he's there. A lot of speculation, and I'm not going to go out on the edge there and get into that. I have no clue. But there he is, coming off the jet, coming off the plane in Washington, D.C. this weekend. So that's according to Jack Sobek on Twitter. And who knows, it's an interesting story, isn't it? And I don't know. And his tweet before that was, wait till they find out why Trump came to D.C. today. He had white shoes on. That's interesting. Yeah, lots of speculation on Twitter about that's gonna just blow the minds of lots of folks this weekend. Hopefully he's there to clean house, Sherry says. Yeah. Well, that would be nice. I will hold my breath. I'll tell you who we could start with. Of course, Biden's on that list. Obama, you name it. But here's who else we put high up on that list. The vice president, Kamala Harris, saying over the weekend that she cannot wait to vote the deciding vote to get rid of the filibuster in the Senate.
And, for me, as vice president, I'm also president of the Senate. And and in our first year in office, some of the historians here may know, I actually broke John Adams' record of casting the most tie-breaking votes in a single term. How about that? How about that?
Oh, that chuckle. Oh.
And so, that being the case, I cannot wait to cast the deciding vote to break the filibuster on voting rights and reproductive rights.
Oh, I bet.
I cannot wait.
Mm-hmm.
And, for me, as vice president...
Strange news over the weekend out of Florida. Well, it's actually not so strange. It's becoming a common occurrence. Have you seen the story about Florida sheriff? Yeah, I think it's Grady Judd. Make sure that I've got this here. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd announced the results of a sting operation arresting 160 people for human trafficking, including several public school teachers and at least one Disney employee. Some of the arrestees were prostitutes, which Judd said he also considers victims. When arrested, Judd said that the department also immediately refers those arrested victims, the prostitutes, to social services. He explained that many of these ladies are victimized by traffickers. The overwhelming majority of these ladies are or have been in the past taken advantage of, he said. You know, they used to call them, oh, he's one who provides for me. He's the one that gives me a ride. But what we found is many, many, many times that, in fact, this person is trafficking this lady. He's making profit off of her. He is controlling her very life. Then as Judd was rolling through his famous arrest cards, he got to a point where he casually remarked, and new Disney employees. Oh, yes, we always have Disney employees, he said. We always have Disney employees? It's such a family-friendly entertainment spot. Imagine. They always have Disney employees. Speaking of FBI and, of course, law enforcement, over the weekend, Steve Bannon told in an interview that the FBI raided 35 Trump supporters this week. I don't have any details on this other than to tell you we'll keep you posted and let you know what we do get. But 35 Trump supporters. Interesting. What in the world is going on? We've got some Rona Report news for you, too. Should I get to some of that? You want to hear the latest from the Rona Report from the High Priest of Health, Mr. Booster? Hang on, let me grab it for you. St. Anthony of Wuhan. Here he is, Tony Fauci! Yo! All right. Lots to get to. Some new studies you may not have heard yet. Some studies that'll knock your socks off. I can guarantee you that. And some news that may just vindicate a few others who are listening to this program. You've been called crazy. You've been told you were the nutbag. Well, start with this. Long COVID contributing to disabilities in the millions, according to a report. Long COVID. Oh, that's what it is. Long COVID. That must be it. It's just the long. Nothing to see here, honey. Just the long COVID. That's all this. That's all this is. Just the long COVID. Yeah, I gotta tell you, you watch some of this stuff and you just, what's the point? Some of these people, yeah, I'm sure that there are symptoms from a lot of folks that align very closely with some of the things that they're going through that you might call long COVID. But could it possibly have another? Could there possibly be something else that they're dealing with? Turns out, yes. From early 2021, stories emerged of people experiencing post-COVID-19 symptoms so debilitating they impacted their ability to work and live a normal life. 31-year-old Rebecca Meyer on CNN spoke about in January 2020 her 11-month struggle with long COVID symptoms, having contracted symptoms from an infection. Prior to infection, she was a healthy woman with no underlying health conditions. However, 11 months into her sickness, Meyer maintained that she was still very much in the symptom management phase of my sickness. Now, they have been doing some research into this. And what they found is kind of interesting. What they found is that there is something that takes place. I want to read you some of the symptoms: brain impairment, impaired heart function, impaired respiratory function, muscle function, blood vessel function, all of it. And there are some things that they do say work for them. They got some therapies, but there's something specifically. There is a new, and I just saw this the other day. I don't know if I have it on me, but there is a blood thinner kind of thing that people who have long COVID symptoms, very similarly to people who got the, you know what, people who got the jab are experiencing as well. Really interesting stuff. And again, I don't know because, well, let me give you this next one. Irrefutable proof that mRNA jab caused vascular organ damage in a new study. A new study said. This isn't just me making things up, folks. The Epoch Times is reporting this one. The Epoch Times saying, study conducted by microbiologist Dr. Michael Palmer and Dr. Sucharit Bhakdi, mostly based on the findings of German pathologist Dr. Anne Burkhardt and Dr. Walter Lang. Here's a primary summary of the findings. 1, mRNA jabs don't stay at the injection site. Oh. Well, these things don't do anything they told us they did. They instead travel through the body and accumulate in various organs. 2, mRNA-based jabs induce long-lasting expression of the spike protein, which is the issue that they're seeing, the same kind of problems with the long COVID, same issue. 3, jab-induced expression of the spike protein induces autoimmune-like inflammation throughout the body in every organ. 4, jab-induced inflammation can cause grave organ damage, especially in vessels, sometimes with deadly outcomes, they say. The study, by the type of dyes they use, shows irrefutable proof that the spike protein goes everywhere: heart, ovary, liver, spleen, and to a lesser extent, testes. Dr. Sherry Tenpenny said, an expert in the jab damage, told the Epoch Times, this is what leads to multiple organ system failures. This is what leads to infertility in women. I'll put the link to this story. I think this might be hidden behind a paywall. I have I have a subscription to these guys, to the Epoch Times, but worth looking at. Because again, it's another piece of the story that you're just not hearing anywhere else. You're not even allowed to talk about this stuff, remember? FDA refuses to provide key COVID-19 jab safety analyses. According to the Epoch Times, U.S. drug regulators are refusing to provide key analyses of a COVID-19 jab safety database, claiming the factual findings cannot be separated by internal discussions protected by law. That's why we can't put this out. It's just, we can't, we would violate, protections. We can't, it's just impossible for us to do. The Epoch Times asked the Food and Drug Administration in July for analyses performed by the agency for the COVID-19 jabs using a method called empirical Bayesian data mining, which involves comparing the adverse events recorded after a specific jab. You don't think they don't record the adverse events, do you? That's in the VAERS database, the thing that they've been talking about. It doesn't exist, or these aren't real, or any. That's what they've been poo-pooing for the longest time. Now, that's how they record them. The FDA says, no, we can't. Yeah, we can't give you the data. I know you'd like the data, but we can't. We just can't do that. That's so funny. That is so funny because, we get the same data from the UK and from Israel and from these other places. You can't give it. That's weird. You can't give it to us, but we can get it from the UK, and we can get it from Israel. We can get it from these other places. Over the weekend, Biden announced a big cancer moonshot. Well, his second. The first one he announced as a vice president back in 2016. Now he's trying to get another cancer moonshot. Coffee and COVID's Jeff Childers talking about this. Thought it was kind of interesting. Cancer cases in adults under 50 have increased dramatically around the world. Biden out there saying that he's going to go after it. They're going to cure cancer. This guy can't even tie his shoes. He can't even tie his shoes. And he's going to cure cancer, he says. But there's something bigger happening here, and Jeff makes a very interesting, ponders the question. Is it because that there's so much cancer happening now? There's a reason for that. That they're coming out with this story, this narrative, to get in front of it, to make you think, oh, no, it's okay. We're going to fight it. We're getting after it. We're going to do it. We're headed this way, and it must be something else. Because whatever it is, it can't be anything that's safe and effective that's caused this cancer that's out there. Cancer rates are rising even faster since Joe's first cancer moonshot. In fact, on the morning, only this morning, the Telegraph UK published an article with this alarming headline: prostate cancer death rates tripled during this pandemic. Get ready to start finding out a slew of new things that cause cancer, because it's already started. Here's another headline for the new BBC News, published just 2 days ago. Air pollution cancer breakthrough will rewrite the rules. Australia research shows rates of obesity-related cancers quadrupled. Here's another one. Why do orthopedic surgeons have such high breast rate cancers? Oh, and processed food. Well, processed food they do cause cancer. Yeah, HIV apparently. New study links to yada yada yada. Clinicians. Uterine cancer rates are on the rise. ACOG, CDC have partnered up to offer free online call. Yada yada yada. Okay. Hormone treatments. Cervical. Yada yada yada. All these different things added into the puzzle here. But what they don't talk about, and this is the one absent piece that's very strange. They don't talk about another thing that's been introduced that's safe and effective. That's probably why they don't talk about it. There's no reason to, right? But it's a new wave, a new narrative. Jeff Childers from Coffee and COVID in his newsletter, the attorney writes, it's a new way to shift your attention to cancer, because they just can't hide the spike in cancer rates anymore. They need a new narrative, he says. Everything causes cancer, so it's not their fault. So Joe's on it. Whatever is happening here, Joe is on it, folks. Nothing to worry about here. I want to talk to you about some very serious stories. A couple of interesting guaranteed income programs spreading across the U.S. We talked about how bad things are. The economy, everything from gas to groceries is up. Energy especially, and things could get a lot worse as we see the way things are moving in Biden's America. This is Bidenflation, by the way. And I think it was Friday. They quietly announced Spectrum Health here, who's merged with Beaumont, that they were going to be cutting 400 jobs in the state of Michigan. This is Whitmer's Michigan. This is Biden's America. 400 jobs. Guaranteed income has long been proposed as a solution for Americans' financial woes. Story for the Blaze. The idea has increasingly been placed into practice. Guaranteed income programs have been started in 48 cities nationwide since 2020. According to Mayors for a Guaranteed Income, MGI, a network supporting such programs. I wonder who's behind them. Funding for guaranteed income programs has come both from taxpayer support and private contributions. In 2020, Jack Dorsey, the former chief executive of Twitter, donated $15 million to MGI. The New York Times reports that California has become the epicenter of the movement. Yeah, it's the epicenter of a lot of bad things. It really is. In Los Angeles, the Guaranteed Income Program, primarily taxpayer-funded, benefits 3,200 people who have at least one child and an annual income below the federal poverty level. You know what else is happening in California? The middle class is getting squeezed so hard, they're just exploding out of the state. So what you have is you have a poor and you have an extremely wealthy. And the middle class that does live in California that's left over is all state employees. And they're paid double what they probably should be paid because they're state employees. They're double the market rate. So primarily taxpayer funded, benefits 3,200 people who have at least one child and annual income below the federal poverty level. In Oakland, California, a privately funded organization pledged to give 600 low-income families $500 for 18 months. In San Diego, a nonprofit group will give certain families with young children $500 a month for 2 years. This is the pilot. This is the test balloon. The test balloon. Garcetti, the mayor in L.A., said when he announced the launch of his city's program, when you provide resources to families that are struggling, it can give them the breathing room to realize goals that many of us are fortunate enough to take for granted. Well, here's an idea. I don't know, open the pipeline, close the borders. That'll make things easily move back into the right space. And I don't know, give people a chance to make a good living. Quit printing money. Quit printing all this stinking money and sending it to people. Why do things cost so much right now? It's because you're giving the money away. No. We've got the answer. It's to give more money away. It's not their money either. We talked about the price of everything going up from gas to groceries. A railroad strike could send food prices soaring. This from The Hill. The nation's supply of food could take a hit if railroad workers go on strike, driving up prices at the grocery store and limiting U.S. grain exports to countries facing famine. Oh, this is just absolutely evil. As soon as next week, 115,000 freight rail workers could walk out if they cannot reach a new contract with railroads, potentially shutting down the national railroad network that transports 20% of all grain shipments. While unions say they want to avert a strike, and Congress has the power to block it, the U.S. food sector is rattled by the prospect of a national railroad shutdown in the middle of peak harvest season. It's never let a good crisis go to waste. And yes, we know this is how this works. One after the other. Even a short-lived interruption would create a devastating ripple, they say. A devastating ripple effect on the nation's fragile supply chain, said Lee Sanders, Senior Vice President of Government Relations and Public Affairs at the American Bankers Association. Now, folks, this is why I think you should take this seriously. I'll tell you why. This is not on the Epic Times. This is not sitting on the Blaze somewhere. This came from my local television station. It's from The Hill. Nexstar is the name of the company that owns a local TV station here. But there's a reason they're pumping this out. A railroad shutdown in mid-September would quickly overwhelm grain storage facilities, leaving farmers with few options to store their crops and boosting the chance of spoilage. Many grain processors would shut down, raising the price of bread and other common items. Farmers would be saddled with huge crop quantities and lower commodity prices. It's kind of a double whammy when you hit both the beginning and the end of the supply chain. Max Fisher, chief economist at the National Grain and Feed Association, said. Why would they allow this to happen? This is terrorism. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. Look, I've talked about it at length. If you haven't already, please consider, even if you don't use my friends at My Patriot Supply, please consider just getting a little bit extra here at the store if you can afford it. Doing some canning. I don't know if you've been able to buy some things at the farmer market. I don't know. We're getting a little late here, but there may still be time. My Patriot Supply. Preparewithjustin.com right now. You can save $250 on a 3-month emergency food supply. Have a little bit there, folks, for you, your loved ones, people you care about. 2,000 calories a day. It lasts on your shelf 25 years. But get ready. Do something. We've heard about the water, the stories out of Jackson, Mississippi, and some of the crazy things that have happened. They've got water filtration. They've got other survival items, air purification, you name it, seeds, even coffee. Some things that you may not have even thought about yet. Preparewithjustin.com. Anytime you support these folks, anytime you support anyone, you help make this program possible. Thanks to the folks with preparewithjustin.com, My Patriot Supply. Making things happen. How about some other stories this weekend? I know that I followed this just sort of not too closely, but the price of gas seems to be, at least here where I'm at, a little lower than it was, but I think now seems like maybe it's gone up just a little bit. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said Sunday there is a risk that U.S. gas prices could actually jump again. Of course. Well, we're out of summertime. What would be that? Well, it's not demand. What would be causing the price to jump again? It's a risk, she says. It's a risk that we're working on the price cap to try to address. Oh, a price cap. Yellen told CNN's Dana Bash on State of the Disunion, when asked if Americans would be worried about gas prices rising again later this year. This winter, she said, the European Union will cease, for the most part, buying Russian oil. And in addition, they will ban the provision of services that enable Russia to ship oil by tanker. It's possible that could cause a spike in oil prices. Yellen continued, our price cap proposal is designed to both lower Russian revenues that they use to support their economy and fight this illegal war, while also maintaining Russian oil supplies that will help to hold down global oil prices. So I believe this is something that can be essential, and it's something that we're trying to put into place. So meanwhile, what she's saying is there are things happening behind the scenes that you can't even understand that, of course, are very likely to cause prices to jump again. So while you're getting pinched everywhere else, energy prices are going to possibly jump again. How about some good news? You want some good news? Right? I think we need a little good news. 3 armed suspects who went to break into a Texas home. Only one escaped. Well, it's good news for us. It's good news for the person whose home it is. Not necessarily for those folks who broke in. Only one escaped alive. 17-year-old with a shotgun stopped the home invasion flat in its tracks. 3 armed men trying to break into this home and the residence in Texas, however, stopped dead in their tracks when a 17-year-old with a shotgun inside the home, an adult female, a 12-year-old boy, and a 17-year-old male. One of the 17-year-old reacted to the break-in by grabbing a shotgun. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez said the 17-year-old fired several times and struck 2 of the suspects who allegedly broke into the home. in Channelview, a suburb of Houston. Police found the two men unresponsive and suffering from gunshot wounds at the time. The two suspects were pronounced dead at the crime scene. The third suspect fled the home and drove away in a dark-colored four-door sedan. None of the people already in the home were harmed. So the innocent lives were saved, and who knows what would happen with these folks breaking in. Innocent lives saved. Thank God. Because a good guy with a gun was able to use it. Albeit a 17-year-old, that's not too young to learn how to respect a firearm, especially if they've been trained hunting and things like that, whether it's a rifle or a shotgun in this situation. But again, we have respectful uses of self-defense versus the narrative we're continually taught. The case was presented to the Harris County District's Attorney Office, which recommends the case be presented to a Harris County grand jury. Excuse me? There's an ongoing investigation into the shooting and a search for the third suspect now. Law enforcement asking anyone relevant. So they may try to charge this kid. A grand jury? Who in their right mind? Well, it's a Democrat-run city of Houston. Anything's possible. But this is the world that this is what we're welcoming in closely on a daily basis. Victims being charged.
Arrived here moments ago. You can see behind us the scene cleared up because this happened hours ago last night on Friday evening. Now, Sheriff Ed Gonzalez writes in a tweet, 3 armed men wearing masks tried to force their way into a home at the 16.
Already, you know this is not a great neighborhood because you look at the gate they got around the car now. You know it's not a great neighborhood.
100 block of First Street in Channelview. Now, inside, an adult woman and 2 17-year-old boys and
they
a
got more gates down
girl.
here.
The sheriff said one of the boys grabbed a shotgun and shot at 2 of the suspects several times. Both men died on scene. A third man got away in a dark-colored 4-door vehicle. Now, the sheriff's office currently lists this shooting as a justifiable homicide. However, the investigation is ongoing, and all evidence will then be presented to a grand jury who would determine what happens next. Again, a 17-year-old teen.
There's no reason this goes to a grand jury. There should be no reason. People are breaking in. It's Texas, for the love of Pete. People are breaking into a home, and this 17-year-old stops that from happening, saves the lives of some of these other kids that were in that home.
Here said to have shots. 2 suspects, police said,
This is the world we live in. This craziest Democrat leftist policies, the Soros policies. They let the criminals out, and they want to lock people up. Lock people up for trying to defend themselves. It's crazy. That's Houston for you. That's Democrat policies at work. The good news is that the kids in those they're alive and well and safe today, at least for now. Safe today. Words like pumpkin spice, metaverse among 370 new definitions Merriam-Webster added to their dictionary this month also include a new list of informal slang terms like cringe, yeet, and baller. Some of that I don't even know. I don't even know what that means. But, you know, they're also changing the definition of words like vaccine. So we've heard that before. And this is Merriam-Webster this time. Merriam-Webster of all places. Jeez, oh Pete's, folks. Lots of stories still to get to. In fact, tomorrow we'll crank out a few more for you. I want to thank our newest sponsor, the folks at Mentality. I told you a little bit about these guys earlier in the big show, but they are a new sponsor of this program, and we couldn't be more thrilled, more excited to have these folks with us. lowtusa.com. Yeah, this is a big deal. This is a serious deal. It's a health issue, and it could have all kinds of consequences for men, particularly in I think sort of my age range. Something that I think about on a daily basis. Maybe you're not, you don't have as much energy as you used to. Maybe you're experiencing weight gain, muscle loss. You've had fatigue. Maybe you're tired all the time. Life has a way of just sort of piling up, doesn't it? Irritability, impatience, anxiety, and depression. Any of those issues, then you ought to get it looked at. Because if you haven't looked at your levels, it's time with a quick, simple look, a check under the hood. Very easy. They can do this. lowtusa.com. The folks at Mentality help provide FDA-approved testosterone treatment, board-certified physicians who work with most insurance. It's quick. It's easy. It's discreet. They're going to take care of you. Maybe you've had some cloudiness, some mental acuity decreased, attention span, stress causing some of the focus issues that you're having to deal with in life, your daily life, maybe work, or even bleeding through at home. Belly fat, feeling bloated, lack of lean muscle and tone that used to be easy to get rid of, now maintain. Low libido. All of those things. Really what it boils down to is not being able to be the man you were created to be. When you feel like you don't have the energy to drive to keep up with your kids after work, or maybe you just feel, if you could just feel like you did 5 or 10 years ago. Think about that, right? What would the difference be? Even if you tried testosterone before, not everyone understands blood chemistry in men's bodies. That's why they're so different. They use a very holistic approach. Talking with these guys and what they do and how extensive everything is, it all starts with the testing. They want to see what's going on in your body so they can make sure that they give you the right tools you need to take care of the job today. lowtusa.com. Check out Mentality today at lowtusa.com. Go to lowtusa.com. That's lowtusa.com today so that you can get back on track and take your life back. Got to thank these folks. Anytime you help us, support us, you talk to one of our sponsors, maybe when you reach out to them, make sure that you thank them for supporting our program. Make sure you thank them for standing up in times like these, because, I got to tell you, folks, it's more important now than ever before. Will it work on elderly men's selective hearing, Patty asks. No guarantees in selective hearing for anyone. Because I know that selective hearing happens in a number of areas. But thanks to our folks, again, the support us on a daily basis. Lots of people are doing that over on Locals. Oh, man, I got a whole list from this weekend. I got to read you the names, and I'll get them together so I can say thanks to these folks. I really do want to say thank you. People are supporting us in a major way at Locals, and you can do that. Come on over. The membership is free, but then the supporters pay a little bit extra. They get $7 a month, or you can get an annual membership for, I think, 2 months free when you get the annual. And it is amazing. The content that you're getting, the stuff that you're going to get access to. We've already started doing some great things over there. We really had some great talks this weekend over on Locals, so appreciate you joining us there. JustinBarclay.com/locals. That's JustinBarclay.com/locals. You can join and support us there. Any book, any t-shirt, anything you buy, anytime you help support us in my store. Gosh, it just goes a long way, and we appreciate it all, folks. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Make sure you click share today so you can be with us again. Folks need to know about what we're talking about. JustinBarclay.com. Make it a great day, folks. God bless.